When I was 23, I bought my very first hat, coat, scarf and gloves. You see, I'd just stepped off the plane at Leeds Bradford Airport, and when I got onto the runway, it was -5 degrees. And the cold hit me, and I thought, it was 46 when I left Perth yesterday. What the hell have I done? And actually, walking outside today on the first day of summer, I'm starting to feel the same way. I'm sure you guys are too. But you see, I went and I worked. I was part qualified in Australia, and I thought I'll come over to Britain and I'll become a chartered accountant and I'll go back to Australia and I'll rule the world. Have you had that kind of feeling in the early 20s? Some of you are in your early 20s. So what I did was I went to work for an accounting firm, big firm up in Leeds, and after a couple of weeks of being there, they decided I was a little bit different. And those of you who all know me or do know me, you know that's probably quite true. But what they decided was, because I like to talk to people, and because I could strike up a conversation with pretty much anybody, that I was some kind of sales expert. I was some kind of natural salesperson. Has anybody met a natural salesperson? No? Do they really exist? I don't know. So anyway, they took me out, and instead of just pushing me out on audit and letting me do sole traders accounts and all that kind of thing, they started taking me to meetings. And they took me to meet clients, and they took me to social stuff, and I saw a lot of great cricket, because back then, and actually we're getting better now, but back then we were really good. We won't talk about rugby. If anybody wants to discuss that, that's a different day's conversation. And I saw quite a bit of football, and I really am struggling with football still. I'm trying to get my head around that game. But what I saw was loads of people boring each other. People going to networking events, people going to conferences, people going to meetings, people standing there, you know those conversations where they talk to each other, but actually they're looking over their shoulder of the other person to see who else to speak to, glazing over while they stood and were told what people did and how they prided themselves and what they could do to help and how wonderful they were and blah, blah. You've heard that conversation before? Elevator pitching? And I thought, this can't be right. It can't be how good business is done. This cannot be how successful people do it. And so I did what any ambitious, forward-thinking, and let's face it, fiercely handsome 23-year-old would do. I decided to try and learn from people. So I started watching. I started watching the people who were really good. You know the connectors? You know those people? The people who seem to know everybody? They walk around and they sort of hold conference. They hold court amongst people. And I started watching them and working out what they did. And then once I'd learned as much as I could by watching them, I started to talk to them. I started buying lunches and buying lots and lots of coffees. I started asking them why they did things. I didn't want to know the what. I wanted to understand the thinking. I wanted to understand what was going on in their minds, why they did what they did. And I learned a huge amount from these people. In fact, I learned so much, it started me on a 23-year journey so far in trying to become as good at sales as possible and also at building business and getting to the heart of things. And it's led me to build a career based around that, which I'm kind of doing today. You see, if we think about the businesses we have now and the business we're doing, we get a lot of referrals, don't we? Does anybody get referrals? Some? You know that point where the phone rings and so says, Joan said I should call you? That's great, isn't it? It's great, but it's passive. It's really passive, and it's completely infrequent. See, what we want, or what we can have, is a business that's based purely on that. We want a system which allows us to just nurture referral all the time, get people talking about us all the time. Wouldn't that be great? Business where business comes because of what we do and how we do it, but also a system behind that allows us to ask for people to refer to us, to get people talking about us all the time. And getting it right isn't difficult. It's not hard, but it takes an understanding. It takes understanding of what makes people tick, what makes them think, what makes them want to give referral, what makes them want to accept referral from people. And when we get to that, we can build a whole world around it. Because the traditional sales style, and you've probably seen this, is go and tell people what you do. Go and push your message to everybody. Go and tell them what they need, and hopefully you'll hit them at the right time, or hopefully they'll like you enough to talk to you. You know, because in those conversations I had with all those people I bought coffee and lunch for, I learnt there's two really important things which are absolutely bleeding obvious. Okay? The first is that people buy people. And you've heard it probably a million times, haven't you? Has anybody not heard that expression? Okay? It's sometimes wrapped up as people buy from people, but that's not quite true. We enjoy the working with the person we enjoy the working with. You know, the process is simple. It's know, like, and trust the sales process. We're going to get back to it in a minute. It's know people. We have to get to know them before we can work with them, and like them before we start to build trust with them. Just like in our social lives. Does anybody here go out to socialise with people they don't like? Unless you, sometimes I guess, unless you absolutely have to. And in business, unless we absolutely have to, we don't work with people we don't like either. You know, so we've got to get away from that traditional mindset model of telling and get a process which allows us to be found at the right time, of people coming to us, attracting people to us. Would that be good? Yeah? I mean, that's the kind of framework I'm going to propose to you today. I'm going to propose that system to you. And it's something that really, really resonates with a lot of people. But here's a sad reality. See, I've done my homework. I've done my research. I've spoken to hundreds of businesses and I've worked out some important facts and some pretty scary facts. Of all the businesses I worked with and all the businesses I've spoken to, 64%, I know it's a random number, 64% told me that more than half their business came by referral. That's quite a lot, isn't it? It's quite a significant percentage. It's not the L'Oreal, 64% of people thought the hair looked better after doing this, of 12 people who were sampled, but 64%. And of that 64% who got more than half their business this way, 80% of those businesses had no system whatsoever to nurture referral. If we know that it's such an important part of our life, of our business life, why would we have no system for it? Should we do a straw poll? Hands up again if you get business by referral. Okay, can you keep your hand there if you get more than half your business that way? And keep your hand there again if you've got a proper system to make that happen. 3, 4. Really? But it's important, isn't it? So why don't we? Why don't we have systems? Is it because it's too hard? Or we just don't know? Or we hadn't even thought about it? But it makes sense that there should be something, shouldn't there? And I'll tell you this one thing right now, I'm going to reinforce it later. Money doesn't work. Okay? 10% back to the person who gives you business does not work. Why doesn't it work? Because business is based on trust and professional services is based on high trust. We don't refer people to professionals unless we trust them. And 10% is not trust, is it? It's payback. It works for click-through and stuff. It doesn't work for referral. So, should we have a look at this system? Let me introduce you to the Referral Revolution system. It's a really simple thing because I'm really simple and I can't do complicated, but I also know that business doesn't work on complicated, and if it's complicated, we won't do it. So the Referral Revolution system is really simple. It works on 3 things. It works on our client base. What are we doing with our existing clients right now? What are we doing to give those people amazing service, excellence of service? What are we doing to nurture the relationships with people that we work with now? And what are we doing to encourage them to talk about us, to motivate them to talk about us? And note that clients are a relationship. We all agree? We have relationships with our clients. It's not a one-night stand. We have to nurture these relationships. We have to date our clients. We have to keep them loving us. Take them out for dinner now and then. Spend time thanking them for the work that they give us. Ensure that they understand how important they are to us. It's a relationship that we need with them. The next part is our colleagues. What are we doing with our colleague base? And not just do they understand what we do, because goodness knows a lot of businesses, you talk to one department and then talk to another and they don't really know exactly what that other department does. So how on earth can they cross-sell? So how do we encourage cross-selling? But also, are we hiring the right people? Are we hiring people based on their core values? Or are we just hiring them based on skill and attitude? Are we getting the right people in our business? And when we've got them, are we treating them well? This is a really important fact. Our staff treat our clients the way we treat them. If you go into a shop, there's a shop in my village, little cafe. And they do nice sandwiches and cakes, and you know, I don't mind a cake, you probably noticed. And there's a girl in there who is absolutely, or was, miserable. You know, really, I go in there every Tuesday, I've got a client next door, and I go in there every Tuesday to get a sandwich, and she was miserable. And then the place changed hands, and suddenly she's a delight. She's a delight because she's being looked after, she's being treated nicely. She's being talked to the way that she now talks to me. It's not rocket science, any of this, is it? It's just simple. But we treat our staff treat our clients the way we treat them. And the third part is the outside world, the community. What are we doing outside of our business? How are we finding people and how are we getting them to find us at the right time? Who are we being interviewed with? Who are we networking with? What are we pushing out there? What content are we giving the world? You know, there isn't a person in this room who doesn't understand the importance of content marketing. And if you don't understand the importance of content marketing, you need to start to understand the importance of content marketing, giving the right information to the marketplace so that the people looking find you at the right time. I can't stress that enough. So how do you make it work in practice? Well, it's really simple. See, in the old world of marketing, and are there any people from marketing here? Oh, it's good, I can tell you anything then, can't I? In the old world of marketing, there was something called the 4 Ps. Price, product, promote and place. That was the way that we marketed. And now in the digital age of marketing, which people now call digital marketing, and don't be fooled by that, it's still just the same thing, different shop window, it's marketing. They talk about the 4 Cs, which are content, context, community and connection. So you can see it's moving from where we stuff things to trying to get people involved, but actually I think it goes a step wildly further. It moves into something which I've called the magic W's, the 4 W's. I'm going to talk about rugby, even though I promised we wouldn't. But when you teach, does anybody in the room play rugby or has played or coached? Okay, great. Again, I can tell you anything I like. But I teach under 9s, little 8-year-old kids to play rugby. And what we teach them is really simple. When you pass a rugby ball, if you make your hands into a W and put them on the ball, wherever you point the W, the ball goes. It's a very simple directional thing, but it's magic because the magic W allows that all to work together. In business, we have a magic W. Actually, we have 4 of them. And they are why. Not our why, but why would someone work with us? Why do our clients work with us? Why do our really great clients come back? We need to understand that. The next is who. Who should we be working with? And not just anybody who'll pay the bills, because that's a bit random, but who is the ideal client for us? Who would be that perfect person that we should work with? Who do we want to work with? And then what do we do? The strategy based around that. What are the things that we should be doing to help our why and our what, our who? And then there's the where. Where do we focus that strategy and attention? Really simple process. Really simple process, but it needs one last part. And that's action. We need to do something. Because all of this great thinking without action is what? It's a dream, isn't it? A plan without action? It's wonderful. You can sit and dream. My nana was a lovely, lovely old lady. She was a lovely lady when she was a young lady. But she said to me so many times, dream big dreams. Don't limit your dreams. They're only dreams. Okay? Let's not limit our dreams, but let's put them into action. Do something with this stuff. Why spend time on your business when you're not going to do anything with it? That surely makes sense. It does make sense, but so many people go through the contents of understanding all the bits and pieces and then don't do something. And it's the doing something that I love helping with, because getting that action and making some profit from it. I mentioned the know, like and trust thing a little while ago. I'm going to go back to that now for you because I just want to go back through it quickly so it makes sense, but also to expand it a bit. This is a client cycle. This is the journey that your clients go through when you work with them, okay? It starts with know, hello, how are you? Get to know each other. Then we build rapport, if it works well, and we get to like. They like us, we like them, we want to do something more, and we push and try to work toward trust. But then this bottleneck appears. And this is the bit that very rarely gets spoken about. The bottleneck is try. If you imagine it a great big hourglass, and there's no like and trust, and then we get to this try bit. To get through that bottleneck, our clients need to try us out. And they could try us by giving us a little bit of work, Or they could try us by reading something great that we've written, or they could speak to somebody who's worked with us. They can do lots of different things to try us out, but we all know that they will go online. They will look for us and they'll look for what people say about us. If we can burst through that little bottleneck and we get into the next stage, which is buy, they'll buy our services. And at that point, they're a customer. Customers are a one-off. They buy from us, they go away. There's very little loyalty. Until they start to buy from us repeatedly, I think it's only fair that we wait until we call them a client. And when they do that well, and we do everything well, work through the 3 C's, work through the 4 W's, do everything right for that person, they will talk about us. And what we want to do is build that core talkable difference. That thing that people can say, do you know what, go to them. You know, I'm one of those people, if you imagine everybody in the world, the top 10% of people refer all the time to others. I'm one of those people. If you've got a washing machine that needs fixing, I know a guy. If you need an accounting system, I've got the system. It's Xero, by the way. Anyone from Xero here? Okay. I know that I've got this, and that, and the other. I will tell people. The bottom 10%, they won't refer ever. They're too scared. They're too scared of it going wrong. You know, you go out for dinner and you have a lovely meal and you tell your friends about it. Has anybody done that? Anybody not done it just in case it's not good next time? There might be 1 or 2 of you, might be fears that it's not going to be perfect. That 10% don't refer. The 80% in the middle, we have to work on those guys. We have to motivate them to want to refer to us. So to put some more thoughts in your head, and I'm bashing you with thoughts, there are 5 realities to referral that we need to think about. 5 realities which will help you in the process of getting people to refer more business to you. The first one is really important, is that referrals are important in building connection. Referring business builds connection, and referring business builds social currency. The more business I give you, the more indebted you feel to me. Same thing if you come to my house for dinner on Saturday. You come for dinner, you'll have a lovely meal, great wine, fantastic time. Yeah, and I'll see you the next weekend and I say, hey, it was really good seeing you guys on the weekend. Come and have a meal again. And you'd say, no, it's our turn. Wouldn't you? Or if I buy you a beer, it's your turn. We build social currency in all aspects of our lives. Nothing is greater than giving someone business that builds profit for them. The more business we give, the more it gets. It builds connection, it builds social currency. The second is really interesting as well. People don't ask for referral quite regularly because they're worried about the person saying what? No. It's a risk, isn't it? But all business involves risk. We don't go into business without risk. There's got to be an opportunity to take advantage of that risk. That's why we get paid. So the second reality is that all business involves risk. The third reality is stolen from Seth Godin. If you haven't read any of Seth's stuff, he's a Canadian business writer, wrote The Purple Cow and Dip and Tribes and all sorts of other great books. But Seth said something interesting. He said, nobody talks about boring businesses and boring people. And it's true, isn't it? We don't talk about boring businesses. We talk about the exciting, we talk about the imaginative, we talk about the different. We talk about the ones who enthrall us. You know, I ride motorbikes. I love motorbikes. And I bought a new bike last year. And what I wanted, especially for that motorbike, was a carbon fibre rear hugger. And I see most of you glazing over. It's a mudguard, okay? But I really wanted this thing. And I heard about a company up here in the Midlands called Skid Marks. Okay? Terrible name. Right? Terrible name. So I went on the website, and you can't order online on their website, you have to speak to them, and that was a bit unusual, but actually quite nice. And when I spoke to them, they were really helpful, and 2 days later, this carbon fibre hugger arrived, a great big box full of those little peanut-shaped things that my kids love so much, I don't know why. And out it came. But there were 2 things that made my day. The first was there was a little pack of sweets there, little pack of Haribo, and that's quite common nowadays. Wiggle and other companies started to do that, but that was quite fancy and new. And the second thing was a little note, a little handwritten note which said, James, we hope this looks really hot on your speed triple. We see the weather down in Oxford is looking nice this weekend. Have a great ride. How cool's that? How long did it take them to write the note? Seconds. And how many times have I told this story? hundreds now. And I'm telling you, and I'll tell everybody else I meet, that if they ever need anything like that, skid marks are the guys, because they're great. They're different, they're interesting. We want that in our people, don't we? The fourth reality is that consistency builds trust. The more consistent we are the same everywhere we are, the more trust we build. And we don't need to look outside of the world around us, the retail world around us, to see this in action. Does anybody here drink Starbucks coffee? Should I put my hand down? I don't, it's disgusting. It's that typical American thing of we'll make it taste as little as possible so you can't hate it. But we can go into these coffee shops, doesn't matter what the chain is, and we know how it works, don't we? We know where to stand, we know what to order. We even use the silly cup sizes that they have to order our stuff. But we know what it's going to be and we know how we're going to get it, and that consistency allows us to walk in and feel comfortable. What we're going to get is a terrible cup of coffee, but we're going to get it anyway. Yeah? That consistency works right throughout our lives. For every fast food chain is the same. But if we're seen to be the same everywhere we are, and our service is the same to everybody who touches us, and every phone call is as excellent as the previous phone call, stuff starts to happen and people build trust based around that. If we're great for one person and not great for the other one, we're dead in the water. Like the restaurant we refer people to and someone goes and has a terrible meal. Yeah, it just doesn't happen. We have to have that consistency to build that relationship with everybody. And the last one, and we're going to build on a bit later, but the last one is really interesting as well, is that marketing is a system. This isn't random stuff. And referral marketing is a system within a referral system. We all have systems in our lives, don't we? Gosh, you guys are all in the systems world, aren't you? We do this, we do this, we do this, we do this. Here, hey, presto, trial balance. Yeah, from what I remember. I was a terrible accountant, I've got to tell you. I loved it, but I wasn't very good at it. The fact is that it's a system, and we need to systemize everything in this world so that it works properly. If we don't think about it as a system, it doesn't work. And just before I finish at the end, I'm not quite there yet, but I'm going to give you a little system which will help you ask your existing clients for more work. That'd be quite nice, wouldn't it? Getting some more business by referral. But let's start with these W's. Let's just talk about those a little bit first. I want you to think about the why. I want you to think about, why do people use you? What is it about you that makes them come back? What is it? And if you don't know, or if you're guessing, you need to understand properly. You need to ask those people. So find your best clients, the ones who really like you, the ones that you know like you, and ask them. And yes, there's a little bit of a leap of faith, but I told you business involves risk. Ask them why they use you, why they come back to you, and start to get a heart of that. And when you do, you can start to identify a differentiator. You can understand what makes you different, what makes you stand out in a crowd, what makes you interesting, what makes you different, what makes you important to your client base. What's your core talkable difference? The thing that people can refer to you for. That niche that you do, not everything you do, the one thing you're amazing at. Because if you think of your business as an arrow, and there's a board over there, and we shoot the arrow through the board, the arrow only goes through because of the arrowhead. The point gets you through the board. Doesn't matter how hard I shoot it, doesn't matter how much I run toward the board like I watched a kid do at scout camp. Doesn't matter. It's that little niche that gets us in. Then everything else follows. So what is that one thing? What's the differentiator that makes us different? The core talkable difference. The thing that's so special about you. Only about you. There's a guy called Scott Ginsberg who you may have come across or heard of. He's a guy who walks around with a name badge which says Scott. He's a leading expert in approachability, has an enormous business in the States. And he said something that I really love. He said, there are no cover bands in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Yeah? We have to be special to be looked at. If we want to be in the Hall of Fame, we have to be very special. And we want to create a message that travels. We need to know what that why is, so that when we talk to people, when they say, what do we do? How many times today have you asked somebody that question already? What do you do? Has anybody not asked it yet? Yeah? You will, okay? And I guarantee you that most people will answer with the name of their business, their job title, or something as bland as bookkeeping. Okay? If we say, I'll try me. I'm an accountant. What do you think? Wonderful people, because you're in that world. But most people have a stereotype, don't they? And if we use that stereotype, or we use that title that allows that stereotype to fester, it's terrible. If I said to you, I'm a solicitor, what would you think? Shark, nasty, money munching, only out for myself. Those are the horrible stereotypes, aren't they? Proliferated by American television, let me tell you, but that's the thing. So we need to tell people how we help people, what it is we do to help our clients. What are the things that they can refer us to? Not the whole thing, the one thing. When someone says, oh, I'm having a nightmare, and that friend says, oh, you need to speak to James. He'll help you. That kind of thing. We need to get to that. We need to understand that. When we do that, then we can start to play with the who. The who is your ideal client. That person out there that you love to work with. They're hiding inside your client base right now. The person that when they ring you think, oh, great. Not the person who rings and you go, oh, Jesus, do I have to take the phone call? Tell them I'm busy. Please don't ever say that to a client. But, you know, that kind of thing. That wonderful, wonderful person, we only need a load of those, don't we? We don't need hundreds of them. We just need enough of them. The clients who you hate working with, please don't work with anymore. Tell them you can't work with them anymore. Find a nice way to say thank you, but no thank you. I tell you what, if you do that, has anybody done that before? Sacked a client? Liberating, isn't it? Strange, but very liberating. I did it last week, and, you know, I don't like to do it, but some people just don't work for me. We want to find the who. And when we have the who and the why, they mix together into a strategy. Can you start to see when we know what we do and we know who we do it with, then we can start to identify what we're going to do for them. And that becomes this what? Green. But that puts together, allows us a web of strategies. It allows us to think about what we're going to do for those people, what kind of inbound process we need to do. Yeah? We need to have a process which allows people to find us. We need to have a process which will allow them to come to us and allows us to build authority, allows us to know them to know who we are in the marketplace. And we need a mixture. We need a convergence strategy. We need a strategy which is online and offline so that people find us everywhere they need to be. And the last thing we need to do, good, thanks. Are you doing that or me now? Having a fight. Thank you, Mike. There. No, it started to work again. Thank you. And then we need to think about what we give them. What is our content strategy? Now, I'm not a social media guy, but I use a lot of social media. But what I know is that we need to give them what they need to see. We need to blog, we need to white paper, we need to be involved in conferences and meeting people. We need to network at the right places. We need to video blog or have video. If any of you haven't got a video on your website, meet someone who can help you because Google loves it. And it humanises you, all this stuff. The more you give of yourself, the more people know who you are, then that reality that your business is different because of you resonates. You know, because from the outside world, it's all the same, isn't it? Every one of your businesses, when someone has no knowledge of what you do, looks pretty much the same. And you'll say it's the people and the service, and we need to show that, and this sort of thing allows us a little bit of help there. And then the next bit is where. Where are we going to focus our attention? Who are we going to work with? And for the sake of simplicity for now, I'm just going to talk about your clients and your strategic partners. There's an interesting concept. So your client network love you, don't they? You'd hope your client network love you. And these people are perfectly capable, perfectly ready to talk about you. And they're the people we should work with first, when we should try to build a referral process from. But there's a strategic element to this, very strategic. The clients who've already been referred to you or came by referral in the first place, they understand the process. They're happy with the process, they're ready for it, and they are the ones to work with first. We start to work with them, and then we work on the others. But then there's this other group of people that we could know or might know called strategic partners. Okay? Strategic partners are the people who work with a similar audience to us, don't compete with us, complement us, and could be motivated to help build referral as well. And this is a hugely powerful thing. And it's easy to find these people because we have this magic world called Google. And all we need to do is identify the people and then find someone we know who can introduce us to them. And when we do that, we can start to build a relationship. And when we build a great relationship, these people can be motivated to push more business our way. But it takes action. But we need to do something with it. We need to put all this together and do something with it. So let me leave you a little process. I promised you I'd teach you a little process before I went. And here it is. It's really, really simple. Would you like to ask your clients tomorrow for more work? Yeah? Great. So, I'm going to teach you how to do it. But actually, tomorrow might not be the right day. I'll explain why. So here's a little simple process, which you probably can't read because I sent this from a Mac to PowerPoint, and everyone knows that's a recipe for disaster, isn't it? But so we start at the beginning with our clients. We prepare the ground with our clients. We start the spade work. We make them understand from the very first conversation we have with somebody that our business is built on referral. We make them understand that that is how we get our work, that we're a referral-based business. And if we can do that, we start that mindset. And then every time we speak to them, we reinforce that process. When they say to us, how are things, or how's business, because they will, we say to them, great. Just had another business referred to us, or I've picked up a new lead by referral, I'm just meeting someone I've been referred to. We use the word, we embed it, the way that hypnotherapists embed language, so that they start to understand that that's how it comes. When a client says to you, how do you get your business? Because they quite often ask that, don't they? The answer is the majority of our business comes by personal referral. Majority of our business means 51%, doesn't it, to the real world, if we think about it. But actually, it's magic language. It means 95% in people's minds. The majority of our business comes by personal referral, not just referral from people. And then we get on with the job. And we work as hard as we can, and we do an amazing job for them. And then at the right time, we start to ask. Now, the right time is important. It's at the point where we've started to build enough confidence and trust with that person that they feel happy with what we're doing. They're confident in our ability. They're confident in the consistency of our delivery. And that might be at the end of a process, or it might be a little bit of a way through, 2/3 of the way through a long project, or it might be after a period of time you've been working with them long enough that you feel that's right. And then we get ready to ask them. But what we don't do is ask them there and then. We give them warning. We say to them, remember when we first spoke, and I mentioned that the majority of my business comes by personal referral, or our business comes by personal referral. Well, obviously we're hoping that we're at that stage now. I'd like to ask you if there's anybody that you know you might introduce me to, or might be able to introduce me to. And I'm not going to ask you right now, but next time we speak, I'd like to do that if that's okay. And if you've done the first two bits right, the client goes, yeah, of course. Okay? If we ask them now, they're going to give us two answers. Guess what they are? What's the first answer? Could you refer anybody to me?
Can't think of anybody.
Can't think of anybody, which is the bluff, isn't it? Or, I'll think about it and come back to you. Both of which mean no. Don't they? But if we allow them some time and we reassure them of what we want, so we say to them, next time we speak, and the kind of person I'd like to meet is this, then we get them ready and they're thinking, and if they love us and everything else is right, they're ready. Then we make a reason to call them again. Not to ask them something else. And then out of interest while I'm on the phone, do you remember when we spoke before I asked you that I mentioned that I might ask you, and you ask. But the last bit has to happen. If you don't ask them, what's the point of all the spade work? Yeah? What's the point of all the effort? We need to ask. Do you think you could do that? Yeah? It's a consistency model, but it works a treat. It's why I'm on the stage today. Because Mike asked me, but Mike was referred to me by Crossland solicitors. Crossland solicitors were referred to me by Hayes accountancy personnel. Hayes accountancy personnel referred to me by someone I met at a day where antenatal class. Stuff bounces on. And I'm hoping that Mike will introduce me to other people if I'm doing a good enough job. In fact, he already has. And I hope that you guys will talk about the things I've talked about too. I hope I've given you lots and lots to think about. I know there's been a wealth of stuff in this, a lot of stuff to think about now, but it's absolutely over to you. Unless you do something with it, you're not going to get anywhere, I promise. But if you do something with it, it becomes great. And it's fun to work with nice people, isn't it? It's great for them to love us. So I'm going to give you a little gift if you'd like it. If you'd like this, please let me know. I've written loads of little books. There's 2 little e-books, mini e-books that are worth, or maybe worth you having. The Big Fat Networking Mistakes and Big Fat Referral Mistakes. If you'd like those, please get in touch with me. My contact details are there, but it's james@jamesnathan. If you drop me a card now or you drop me an email, then I'd be delighted to send that through to you. And I don't know if I've got any time for questions. I've used up no time for questions. If you'd like to ask me anything, please grab me. I'm going to be about for most of the day. But thank you very much for spending time with me.